Welcome to Book Positive. This is Vinod Narayan. I like reading books. I'm not a fast reader. I'm a very, very, very slow reader. But I always feel that books transport me to some place that probably movies don't or conversations don't. Because when I read a book, it takes a long time for me to read and complete. And not every book is interesting to me. But they take me to worlds that I can then frequently visit in my mind. So I decided to create a YouTube channel, Book Positive. So I used to do book reviews in my other channel, Pen Positive. But then I figured out there are a lot of people out there who just focus on wanting to know about books. There are people who come to me and ask, I don't read a lot, but what is a book that I should start reading? And always my answer to them is that it really doesn't matter which book. If you really want to start reading, you can pick up any book and start reading. And then you'll find out maybe you like that book, maybe you don't like that book. Either way, you'll find out what your next book should be. And that's how you go. I don't used to actually read as a kid. A lot of people read when they are kids, when they grow up, then due to busy schedules, they end up not reading. For me, it was kind of reverse. I did not like to read when I was a kid. I would watch TV, I would go play, I would never read. But my dad was a very voracious reader. And he would always tell me, take a book, sit there, read. He died when I was probably 16, 17 years old. And then I think I picked up wanting to read. The urge to read came up somewhere in my 20s. And by that time I figured out that I don't read that fast. And now I'm in my 50s. And over the past 30 years, I don't know if my speed of reading has increased. But over the 30 years, I've been able to cover a lot of books. But even today, when I look back, there's so many classics, so many beautiful, well-written books that when I talk about books and when I create a YouTube channel about books, some of these books people think that I should have read. But the fact is I've not read it. In fact, I read 100 Years of Solitude probably 2 years back. I read Crime and Punishment, 2 years back. Because 2 years back I decided that I'm going to read some classics, and that's when I read those books. 1984. I read that. In fact, I think last year. Books are not just read now; they're also listened to. So whenever I say I read the book, that doesn't mean I've read the book, because I figured out that there's so much time that I spent reading the book that I don't have the time to complete them. There was a time when I used to think that reading books, that's the right way. And I kind of looked down upon listening books. But then I've changed that. The method of consumption has changed. Yes, even today, the places that a book transports me, it gets better when I'm reading the book. Because you get time to think about it, it takes time, there's an effort involved. And you're not multitasking, you're fully focused on the book. Whereas when you're listening to a book, many times you're driving, you're exercising, you're walking, you're doing a lot of other chores. And that's when this is a parallel thing that happens. So probably there's not a lot of focus that happens on the minute details of the book. But yes, you're able to consume the book, and at the end of it, you kind of understand what the book is about. You have an experience of going through that book and the storyline. When I started listening to audiobooks, I could not listen to novels or fiction. Fiction I had to read. Whereas non-fiction, I was able to do audiobooks. And so that was my listening pattern. But later someone told me, you know what? You should try listening to a novel. Maybe it's different. Maybe you've not looked at it. So my problem listening to fiction at that time was that if I miss a few chapters, maybe my mind wanders and I don't listen to that properly. I don't focus on it. Maybe it might be difficult for me to kind of, if a new character gets introduced during that period, I might get confused listening to the rest of the book. But then I said, okay, let me try. When you have something that you have not tried, it's good to try once. And I started with a book by Haruki Murakami, and it was a wonderful experience. I don't know if it's Murakami's book or because of I was focused and I was committed to kind of listen and like a fiction. So now I listen to any kind of books. I listen to fiction, non-fiction, memoirs, biography. Biography and memoirs, I think, are most favorite when it comes to listening. It has story to it. It has history to it. It has non-fiction to it. It's a lot of things to it. So all the books that I introduce over here, I currently have a list of about 31 books that I read over the last 2 years. And I think the last video that I did about books was in Pen Positive YouTube channel. And this year I decided that I need to have one channel dedicated for books, English books. I also read Malayalam books. For that I have a different channel called Vayana Logam. That means the world of reading in Malayalam. But in this channel, Book Positive, I will primarily be introducing English books that I read. I say introducing because this is not a review. I went ahead and searched on Google and asked, what are the main elements, main points of a good book video? And they said you should talk about the plot, talk about what you like, what you did not like, and such things. There is an academic way of introducing a book or reviewing a book, and there is a reader's way of reviewing a book. But I want to do an introduction because the whole idea is that not to talk about the book of what is in the book, but give you a short understanding of what the book is about, a plot that doesn't have any spoilers, and why I chose that book, and why I like that book, and why I think someone should read that book. And rest, there are books that I might not have liked, but most of the time, whether it is movies or books, if I read for some time or listen to some time and it does not hook me, I don't continue reading it. I always think that once I start a book, I have to complete it, because I think my life, your life, it's all much more precious than the time we spend on watching a movie or reading a book. So if a book doesn't connect with you, I usually give about 20 pages if I'm reading, and probably when I'm listening, I don't really give it probably about half an hour to 1 hour time. Listening to a book is enough for me to decide whether I want to continue with that or not. There's another interesting pattern that I've seen in my reading books, which is sometimes I take more than a year to read a book. Not in one shot. I read a book and for some reason it doesn't move forward after some time, and then I stop it. Then I come back to it later. And there are books that I've taken 3 and 4 years to complete. But such books, once I complete, it starts growing inside me, and which is very, very interesting. And some of these books are books that people have read in one sitting. Maybe because I'm reading those books at a later stage in my reading life. Maybe if I had read that book when I was in my teens, maybe I would have enjoyed that book better. But it took a longer time. It was more of an effort for me when I'm reading in my 50s. So I'm just sharing all those reading patterns with you because as an introduction video to Book Positive, as I introduce you to books that I read and I've read in the last 2 years, some of these books are going to be old books, classic books. Some of these books might be new books, because there is currently as I'm recording this book, I am reading a book, reading, not listening, reading a book which was released in October. of 2023. So it's a fairly new book. So sometimes it will be fairly new books that I would introduce. Sometimes it will be other books, older books that I stumbled upon and I experienced recently. So if you are interested in reading, if you want to start a reading habit, I mean reading or listening, because I don't think I differentiate with that. There was an elitist thought in me saying that, thinking that you should only read a book, and anyone who does anything other than reading a book is not fully immersed in the book. But I think we are changing. So with the busy schedules that we have, even if you're not able to read, do listen to the books. There are a lot of audio books, lot of apps where you can have these audiobooks available for you. Now, I always read as well. So, and I'm not in a hurry to finish a book. So every day I spend probably, sometimes it's only 10 minutes, sometimes half an hour, sometimes 1 hour. But every day I pick up the book. I read a bit. So if you really want to build a reading habit, not a listening habit, a reading habit, I would suggest that pick any book for that matter. And just make sure that you read every day. Before you sleep, or morning when you get up, or any time. Just read. Maybe it's 1 page, maybe it's 2 pages, maybe it's 10 minutes, maybe it's 15 minutes. It doesn't matter. And make that as a habit. Just like when you go to the gym, they say showing up is the most important thing. Whether you go there and spend 15 minutes on the treadmill or you spend 1 hour doing exercises, what is important is showing up. So make it a point to pick up the book. Reading comes after that. And then you might read 1 page, you might read 2 pages. And there are sometimes some books carry you so well that you will forget the time that passes. So I wish you all a great year reading books. If you're a beginner reading books, this is a place for you. If you have been reading for quite some time, there are probably suggestions that you can put in my comment box, and they'll help me read as well. You guys take care. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. And from the next video onwards, I'll share some of the books that I've read recently. You guys take care. Thank you.